Come on, I want to welcome everyone who's watching online. This is a new song we're singing called The Story I'll Tell. The hour is dark, and it's hard to see what you are doing here in the ruins and where this will lead. Oh, but I know that down through the years, I'll look on this moment and see your hand on it and know you were here. And I'll testify of the battles you've won, how you were my portion when there wasn't enough. And I'll It's the story I'll tell. It's the story I'll tell. And I'll testify of the battles you've won, how you were my portion when there wasn't enough. And I'll sing the song of the seas that we've crossed, the waters you've parted, the waves that I've walked, singing, oh, my God did not fail, never ever failed me. Oh, it's the story I'll tell. Oh, I know it is well. Oh, it's the story I'll tell.
Come on, church. Come on, if you know your story, if you know he's been faithful, if you can look back over your life and testify. Come on. That's a good one. It's the first time we're doing that one. I like that one. I think there's so much power in stories. There's so much power in our stories, and there's so much power for you in your story. You know, the Bible says that they overcame the evil one by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And I'm convinced that you can't overcome what is coming your way. You can't overcome what's ahead of you unless you remember what's behind you, and you give thanks to God for what's behind you, and that you're able to see. I love that. I love that part, that verse. It talks about, I'll look back on this moment and see your hand on it. Because I think sometimes, especially in the seasons of testing, we feel like God's hand is off of it. God's forsaken it. God's forgotten about it. But it's in the test that testimony is developed. And it's oftentimes only after the fact, in retrospection, that we look back and we realize, I thought he had left me. I thought he had forsaken me. I thought he was nowhere near me, but the truth is he was walking with me the whole time. He was helping, he was strengthening me, he was developing me, he was making me, he was preparing me for stuff I didn't even know was gonna come my way. And I just think it's so important that we remember our story and we tell our story. And in just a few moments, I'm gonna preach about doing that, about testimony. We're in this series called Old School, and there's like nothing more old school than a good old testimony service. I don't know if y'all remember, if y'all grew up in church and we do testimony services. We're not gonna do that, by the way. Not here, not now. But there's something powerful in those old saints knew their story, and they would tell their story, and they understood that their story was powerful, not just for them, but for other people. And that sometimes it was in someone telling their story that somebody else found their freedom, found their hope, found their faith. And so I want Cherelle to come and sing a little bit more of this. Before I let her do that though, this morning, y'all, welcome to the 1 o'clock, by the way, everybody's watching and worshiping with us. Come on, y'all should be well rested and ready to go. This should be our rowdiest crowd right here. At the 9, man, we did this last night, and it didn't hit me like it hit me today. Troy, you've done great on this song, by the way. Sounds great, right? Yeah. But she's singing it, and if you're new here, you don't know Cherelle. Cherelle's she's been here for a while, for about 7 years now. And when she came, she was, I would say, you weren't a girl, you were a young lady, but you were younger than you are now. And very young, and God's hand was always on her life. But I'll never forget, we met her boyfriend, and we were like, he ain't it. and we kind of told her, and she said, okay. And she got rid of a bad relationship. She stepped away and started trusting God. And I remember in that season, I also remember how much pain she went through physically. Cherelle suffered from pretty severe endometriosis and would just be in pain a lot. And the doctor said she would probably never be able to have a baby of her own. And she stepped away from bad relationships and trusted God that the right person would come along, but she knew that she may never be able to have a child, and that, you know, that there may be some guy out there who that's a deal breaker. And so just that, you know, that being in that place where I want the right relationship, but I don't know if I'll ever get it. And of course, we've watched her grow up. She's a tremendous leader, by the way, not just worship leader. She's a tremendous leader. She leads all of our next generation stuff across all campuses. She's phenomenal. And so E-Kids, youth, our college, all of that stuff, it all reports to her. She's amazing. And just watching her grow up into that, and obviously her getting married not too long ago. How long has it been now? A year and a half, 2 years? Year and a half. And so I just said, at the 9, I was just looking at her, singing about how good God is. Even when the way is hard, and even when you don't know how it's gonna work out, and to see her with that big old bump. Come on, all big old. And just giving God praise, because when the doctor said no, God still said yes. And I know you got a different story. We all have a different story. I just want you to know there's a story behind every song. You can't sing her story, but you can sing yours. Come on, let's one more time. Let's tell our story and give God our praise. Come on.
My God did not fail. Singing love is the story I'll tell. I know it is well. Is the story I'll tell. And all that is left is highest praises. So sing hallelujah to the Rock of Ages. Come on, you believe it today? Sing it out. And all that is left is highest praises. So sing hallelujah to the Rock of Ages. All that is left is highest praises. So sing hallelujah to the Rock of Ages. We're singing, my God did not fail. Singing, it's the story I'll tell. I know it is well. It's the story I'll tell.
Yeah, one more time, give him praise. Give him the praise that only you can give him. Because nobody else came through what you came through. Nobody's got your story, so nobody can give your praise. Nobody's got your story, so nobody can sing your song. That's why God listens for your voice, because you have a praise that nobody else can give. And we all have some stories that may connect similar experiences, but nobody's got the same exact life, the same ups and downs. Nobody's been through exactly what you've been through. And so when we all sing, I feel like God just leans over and he wants to hear every one of our voices. Everyone that's been the tone, not just of our voice, but of our soul. has been shaped by the pain that we've experienced and the joys and the victories and the losses, every one of which God has walked us through and navigated us through. And when we lift our praise, we do so. I didn't want you to hear the song and not know some of the story. Sometimes you see somebody's worship and you don't understand the war behind the worship and the pain behind their praise.